Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Blueprint. I'm Nick Cipolla. I have with me James DeMartis. Today, he is a metalwork artist and an architectural blacksmith, which we're going to talk about that. We worked together at the Sagaponic General Store when we were doing that renovation, and honestly, it was amazing working with you there. We had to get these antique post office boxes and create an insert out of wood, and then it was like, okay, James, make this out of lightweight metal. And threw it at you. And then you did that. And then you did all of the post office boxes and the glass and the numbers, and you installed it. And it's the most incredible thing that is going on, in my opinion, at that building. And that building is gorgeous. So if you ever go to the Sagaponic General Store, please go into the post office and just check out what James did there. Now, you have to tell me, what does it mean to be an architectural blacksmith, a metalwork blacksmith? Tell me.
So first
like
of
you're
all,
not shoeing horses, right?
Not shoeing horses. Okay. That's something very different. That person is known as a farrier.
Okay.
I don't go near horses. But let me thank you for bringing me here. It's very nice to be here.
My pleasure.
I'm happy to answer that question. I like the term artist blacksmith, not necessarily architectural blacksmith. Although much of my work, if not the majority of it, is architectural metalwork. I'm an artist, first and foremost.
Okay, I did not know that about you.
Before I even discovered what blacksmithing was, I was a sculptor, and still am, but I was a welder only, and I fabricated metal sculptures for my passion. I studied art in college. I learned how to weld in college. And that's what brought me to the East End 35 years ago.
That's going to negate one of my questions. Actually, we'll expand,
I beat you to it.
Upon it. We're going to expand upon it, but go on.
The term artist blacksmith incorporates both the creative needs of the artist and the traditional craft of blacksmithing. And that's really how the craft of blacksmithing has survived in the 21st century, through the hands of the artist, because there's no more need for the really purely practical aspect of blacksmithing. There'll always be a need for a farrier. Someone always has to shape the horseshoe for the horse's hoof. But in terms of making nails and hardware, all of that has been mechanized. Mm-hmm. And I like to say that blacksmiths are the only profession that nearly invented themselves out of existence, because they helped make the parts and the tools and the engineering that fueled the Industrial Revolution, and helped create mild steel, which replaced wrought iron and allowed us to make skyscrapers and suspension bridges. And little by little, the need for the blacksmith, which was in every community around the country, around the world, became smaller and smaller over time. But it has had a resurgence in the hands of the artist, who uses it for sculpture, for furniture, for decorative arts.
That's interesting.
Thank you.
I'm in construction and I work with metal workers all the time, and I did not realize what you're telling us. And so tell me, how did you get your start? So we already know now that you were an artist and you were doing metalwork, but I want to combine it with what brought you to the East End. So it's a dual question.
Absolutely.
How did you get your start and why here?
Well, they're integral to one another. I went to college at C.W. Post, Up Island, Long Island University, and I studied metalworking and studio art there. That's where I first learned how to weld. I got my hands on a set of torches and never looked back. It was the process of drawing, painting, printmaking, and my printmaking instructor suggesting, because I had a little flair for working the zinc plates and the copper plates, the etching. He said, you might like to work with metal. And sure enough, as soon as I took that metalworking class, I was hooked. So I learned welding and I started sculpting after college. I was living in Westchester County and then a brief stint in New Jersey, working in the West Village, but totally dissatisfied with commuting and city life, and the whole arrangement.
What kind of work were you doing? Were you doing structural work? Were you doing?
Well, another one of my passions is actually tennis. And I was teaching tennis. And many years before, my father, who owned an art gallery and frame shop in Park Slope, Brooklyn, taught me how to picture frame. So I was teaching tennis and I was picture framing in the West Village.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't fully satisfied. I had a studio in Greenwich, Connecticut, believe it or not. Through one way or another, I was working for an artist there in exchange for studio space. So I was going from Jersey to the city to Connecticut and back, and it was just not...
A lot of commuting.
It was too much. It was too much, and I needed a change. So I answered an ad in the back of the Village Voice for a sculptor's assistant, and it turned out to be here in the Hamptons, in Bridgehampton. With
The art farm?
The Arc. It became known as Mihai Popa, also known as Nova Noah.
So it's the round.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The barrel.
Is that
the
known as the art farm?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. The barrel.
I live
the
in
barrel
that,
house.
That barrel house. Yeah. I know.
That was it. So he ran an ad in the back of the Voice for over 10 years. And young, aspiring, talented people like myself would assist him in making art, ostensibly art. That's a whole nother story. But it brought me out here. I was offered the job, and there again, I never looked back. I moved out here in 91
Mm-hmm.
and started to work at this art compound. And it was there that I met John Battle in Bridgehampton and poked my nose through his door and kind of fell in love with his shop and his skill as a craftsman. He offered me a job after I kept after him for some time. I kept knocking on the door. And eventually he gave me a shot and offered me a job. And that's where I began my career as a blacksmith,
Mm-hmm.
apprenticing with John.
Wow. And then eventually that turned into you going out on your own.
I worked with John for 9 years. And then in 2001, I went out on my own.
Wow.
Started my own business.
So speaking of your own business, we as I mentioned, we met at the Sagaponic General Store. And I met you through the previous manager for the store. And so I want to talk about that evolution, kind of how you came into the store, like how you worked with them before and then came in and like what your process was.
Right. So I had a working history with the owners of the store for some years prior to the renovation of the general store.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a relationship with them, and a very good one at that. Wonderful people.
Hard not to have a great relationship with them because they are the kindest people
Yes.
I've ever worked with.
Absolutely, the foremost, and very discerning people as well. And I like to think that I keep my standard very, very high in anticipation of making something as best I can. So we had this relationship going in, and I was brought in to help, as you mentioned earlier, restore these beautiful old metal primarily brass, post office box door fronts. And
but also the interior was
the structures.
The structures.
Yes.
So we had the boxes that we got from the post office.
Right.
But those boxes, those inserts that you made were incredible.
Yes. We used aerospace aluminum material to reduce the weight of the structures.
Mm-hmm.
They had to be structurally sound, but also lightweight because, as you recall, we used the post office specified carousels, and the size and weight restrictions were finite. So we had to work within those restrictions, and that's why we use this high-tech aluminum material, and that's how we ended up affixing the door faces, which had to undergo an extensive restorative process as well. So it was great. It sort of called upon all facets of my abilities, my love of restoring objects and making something old functional again and beautiful, and then designing, engineering, and creating something more modern. So it was a fusion of both.
Mm-hmm.
And the sort of modern aspect is not really seen. It's hidden behind the beautiful old bronze and brass doors.
I understand how it feels to have your stuff hidden, because I was a framer by trade for 40 years, and I was always step back and looking, oh my God, look at this valley, and then it all gets covered.
Right.
So you don't see it. But
very much the same.
Yeah. I called you in every time I had an emergency there. Like there was the locking mechanisms at the post office didn't work. There was the antique refrigerator that we built and restored. And then you had to come in and do metal around there. You did stuff for the doors. Like you were anytime I called on you for something, it was never, yeah, no, it was, let me see if we can figure it out. And boom, you'd come down, you'd send your team, and it was a pleasure to work with you there.
You mean everybody's not like that?
Honestly, working on that particular project, everybody was so invested in it, and everybody really tried hard to do the right thing. And it's a testimony to the owners.
The owners and to you.
Well, thank you for that.
The whole operation was...
I was just the conductor.
Right.
That's how I view my job.
Right.
I'm a conductor of an orchestra, and if somebody's out of tune, everyone can hear it.
Well, listen, myself and my crew, I have 3 employees, and actually I hired additional help for this job because there was a time crunch and we had to meet all the deadlines, and everyone took great pride in it. And that's something that I feel really good about.
Yeah.
That I know if I have to entrust something to one of my employees, that they're going to do it to the best of their ability.
Yes. And I saw that. You were on vacation at one point, and we had an issue. We needed to build gates.
The gates.
Yeah.
Right.
The gates. And the guys just came down and boom, it just took care of it.
Yep.
So that was a commercial project. Is the majority of your business commercial or residential?
Residential.
So like high-end residential.
Right.
So builders are calling you, owners are calling you to, make something special. Like what kind of...
Absolutely.
What kind of stuff are you mainly doing?
So builders, architects and designers. Those are my 3 main sources for work, sometimes directly with the homeowner. And if I had to pick one thing, because what I do is extremely diverse, I think you know, from the sculpture to hardware to repair, restoration, and everything in between. If I had to pick one object that we do the most of, it's railings, indoor and outdoor railings. Right. There's always a call for railings.
I could see how that would be the case. Yeah.
And then from there, we make furniture, lighting, fireplace accessories, shelving. I do a bit of sheet metal work. And what differentiates me, I think, and my shop from many other metal businesses is that I am diversified. I do the blacksmithing. We machine metal. We fabricate metal. We repair and restore antiques. I also do hand-applied finishes. It's not purely painted metal. We get into patina and chemicals and hand living finishes. So there's a wide range of projects that we're set up to do, which I think sets us apart from most other businesses.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've worked with a lot of different companies, and most of the guys who do metal, their primary is structural. Right. And then they'll do railings for you or whatever, stairs.
Right.
So I had a great experience working with you, and I've continued to. So you've been around a while. What are some of your favorite projects that you've worked on out here, or anywhere?
Oh gosh, that's
probably tough because you've done some pretty interesting stuff.
That's a very tough one. Well, certainly the general store ranks right up there. doing those restorations.
Right, those P.O. boxes. And people are going to be looking at them for the next 100 years.
In fact, I was just on Facebook earlier today and somebody posted, I was at the general store for the first time in years. And they posted a picture of the fronts of the boxes.
Really?
Yeah. So, tremendous project.
I mean, all the sign racks you made for me, you did so many things in there.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I love to do, custom metal. I've made a beautiful wine rack inside a cistern in a historic home in Sag Harbor some time ago. That was a very unique, site-specific, in the round wine rack, which turned out great, very unique. Sculpture that I've made. I love any opportunity to make an indoor or outdoor sculpture.
So people will commission you
yes.
to make something?
And another thing I love to make are museum-style mounts for objects, for artifacts, for taking that pitchfork there and making a beautiful display for it to show it off properly. I love to do that because I get my hands on beautiful old things, or sometimes not old, but nice objects, whether they're metal or not, and making stands for them.
So do you find yourself having time to do a passion project?
Yeah, I do. I still manage to eke out a few sculptures per year. It's very important to me to have that balance.
So do you sell them, or do you just have sculptures all over?
So I both make sculptural furniture and purely sculpture for display. And every summer at Oshawa Hall, I help organize a furniture and sculpture show.
Okay.
So it's a wonderful event. This is our 10th summer doing it. And it also acts as a deadline for me to make new work. So I try to make new work for that. And what I also love to do, and I find very important, are fundraisers for organizations that I believe in on the East End.
Right.
Like the Pride group, which just had a fundraiser at Longhouse last week. East End Hospice, I've made a sculpture for that fundraiser 22 years in a row. I have a few different causes that I participate in and make work for. So that's important to me as well.
Interesting. So you mentioned you were an artist. You came out here, you were knocking on doors, you were looking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you were trying to get into people's, pockets, trying to work with them. So now, like, you're in a position where artists could be coming to you. So what is your advice for somebody who's looking to get into your field? Are you looking for artists? Are you looking for people who are passionate about metal? Like, what do you?
That's a loaded question. I don't know where to start with that. So, yes, having worked my way up from virtually no experience metalworking to having now had a career in my 4th decade, I really empathize with people who want to either change careers and learn a craft, which I'm finding is happening more and more, or young people who want to or think they want to learn metalworking. It's been very, very hard to find people who understand the duration of learning this craft, the difficulty of learning the craft, and the kind of sacrifices that have to be made to learn the craft, particularly on the East End, where one could make a lot of money bussing tables in the summer and working in many different professions to make a lot of money in a short time, not happening with me and with what I do. It takes a long time, and it's a process, and not a lot of people, it seems, are willing to make those sacrifices. And so what I would tell them is just try to stick in it for the long haul, because there is a great way to make a living in this field, but it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And it's a process. One has to work themselves up the chain.
Right.
And it goes from sweeping the floor to preparing metal to measuring to cutting, and then eventually to welding, and then learning to light the fire for the forge and learning rudiments of blacksmithing. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time. So for anyone who's interested in blacksmithing or metalworking, just stick with it. Have some patience and know that the rewards are there, both the monetary rewards and the philosophical awards of making something by hand, something that will endure over time, and working with colleagues and other professionals, which I find extremely rewarding, working with someone like yourself or a designer or an architect, collaborating on something. These things, these relationships and these processes take time.
Absolutely. And people, nowadays everybody wants is instant gratification.
Absolutely. Which makes it harder still. Yeah.
I was carrying lumber. I mean, I started when I was 12, and I was carrying lumber until I was 16, because my dad was just like, I worked for him, just carry lumber.
Right.
And even he told me back in the day, when he was like getting into the union, he was a framer, they'd work for free. They want to learn how to trim. They'd have to go on the weekends or at night and trim, and they'd put them in a closet, and they would just literally work for free. And so, but they were passionate. They knew that they had to start at the bottom. And nowadays, unfortunately, everybody wants to start at the top.
Right. I absolutely agree with you 100%. And if I may add one or two more things on this subject,
Absolutely.
because
it's important.
It's very important, and I love demonstrating blacksmithing to the public. That's one of the things I do in my spare time.
Doesn't sound like you have a whole lot of that.
I don't have a whole lot of spare time, but it's important to me to educate the public, particularly the younger generations, about how things were made by hand in the past, and not that long ago, really, if you think about it, how things were, and as you say, the immediate gratification, Amazon, pressing the button and seeing something within 24 hours, immediate gratification, how things took time, and they had a source, and there was a process, a lengthy process to receive something. So it's important to me to try to teach the younger generations of how things evolved, how things used to be done. And as a result, I've gotten a lot of inquiries from younger people, from educators as well, who want to introduce students to blacksmithing. And I regret to say that I've had to start to decline these invitations because they have never worked out. Really? And I have to take so much time out of my schedule. There's also a safety factor. I have to ensure that an individual is always safe, and I have to take time out of my schedule and my work in order to try to teach. And after repeated disappointments, I've gotten to the point where I'm not even entertaining taking on anyone new at the moment. I hope that changes in time, but unfortunately, that's where I'm at right now.
That is unfortunate because you've got a lot to share. You've got a lot to
Absolutely.
teach, So listen, it's been super informative, and we could probably go on for days talking about this stuff. At the end of our podcast, every time we do something called the lightning round, we're here in Hamptons. Let's just face it, I want to hear, everybody wants to hear about what you do, but you also want to hear a little something about some of your favorite things in the Hamptons. So lightning round, don't think about it too much, just off the top of your head,
do my best.
bang it out, okay? So first question, what's your favorite restaurant?
John Papa's.
John Papa's. Let me just sidebar that for a second. So I've been living out here for 31 years, Sag Harbor, and I've been working in East Hampton, and I opened an office in East Hampton, I would say about 8 years ago, and that's when I found John Papa's. Because it's a diner. Because I'm from Up
a
Island.
diner.
You're from Up Island. We don't have any diners.
Well, I'm from Westchester County, but
there's diners up there.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I go up to Up Island, I'm looking for a freaking diner.
Nothing like a diner.
I'm glad you said that. What's your favorite farm stand?
Oh gosh, that would be Balsam.
Balsam. Okay, that seems to be an all-time favorite around here. People mention that a lot. What's your favorite seafood spot?
Seafood spot for fresh fish?
To buy
Stewart's.
seafood. Stewart's. Okay.
In Amagansett.
That's like in his house, right?
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that
it's like
interesting.
a shack out back.
Yeah, pretty cool. So if you're cruising around the Hamptons and you're having a beautiful day, what's your favorite spot in the Hamptons? Like you're going to sit there.
Girard Drive.
Girard Drive.
Mind you, all these
here.
places are in my little 5-mile radius.
As they should be.
Yeah. And so Girard is a couple miles down the road from here.
And it's gorgeous.
And that's my spot.
I worry about Girard
sane
Drive.
spot.
Whenever we have a big storm, you're just cutting it off.
Oh, you worry about it.
Yeah, I worry about it. Yeah,
the
I
waters.
think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
You got a day off, which it doesn't sound like you have a lot of days off. And you're going to go spend the day. What is your perfect day in Hamptons?
Oh gosh, at this time of year?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Well, getting up early and going for a walk or a bike ride. I have a motorcycle. I like to ride my motorcycle so early before there's a lot of traffic.
Right.
Getting home, maybe a bite to eat, and then getting packed up, going to the beach, heading to the beach, going to swim in the ocean. Absolutely love the ocean. And then heading home for a nice barbecue. We might do some seafood. We might do some steaks, burgers. But that is the perfect scenario with my friends and family. Can't beat it.
Well, it sounds great. So listen, I just want to really thank you for coming in. I learned an awful lot, and I'm sure anybody who watches this podcast is going to be like, that's what a blacksmith does? There's still blacksmiths around here? And any aspiring artists out there, this is your guy. You want to stop by and you want to talk to James DeMartis. Thanks for coming in, buddy.
My pleasure.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you all for being with us here today at Beyond the Blueprint. That was freaking awesome.
Yeah, that was great.